Hi, this is Billy Collins, poet, and you're listening to Kidz Place with Pavlina.
Hey everyone, it's Pavlina from Pavlina's Kidz Place, and we are here at Rollins College, and I'm here with an amazing poet and two-term laureate, Billy Collins. How are you doing?
I'm doing never better.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
That's definitely good. And actually, when I first heard you were coming to, Rollins and everything, and I first heard your name and you were a poet and everything, I really figured you'd be British.
Really?
Yeah.
Why do you have that association? I mean, there are lots of. In fact, it's kind of au contraire. I mean, American poets are, in a way, broke off from the British tradition and into kind of more radical forms of verse. Way back in the beginning of the 20th century. But no, I was born in New York City. That's not so British.
True. It's my favorite city, so there you go. That's awesome. So what would high schoolers, what can they really get out of from their English teachers today?
Well, the English teacher has to be a kind of matchmaker. In other words, pairing the right students up with the right published poet and just get students to be influenced by the right poets. It's really, the preparation for poetry is very simple. It just means doing a lot of reading. And then, what inspires poetry is not so much nature or your vision of life. What inspires poetry is other poetry. Yeah. So you're in a conversation with other poets and you have to read them a lot to know what the conversation's all about.
As a teenager, were you really, encouraged, or were you a born poet kind of thing?
Well, I was not encouraged. I loved language. I used to read modern poetry when I was a teenager, not knowing what it meant, but I would look for interesting images, and I would just pull out interesting, new, fresh ways of looking at things. Yeah. But teachers didn't really encourage me. I don't need encouragement. In fact, I react better to discouragement. Really? Yeah, because I have a keener taste for revenge than I do an appetite for approval. Mm-hmm. I don't need to be approved of. But if you discourage me, I'll prove you wrong, or I'll try.
Yeah, definitely. That's cool. So you have a thing with crazy superstitions. So what is some of your craziest superstitions? I
think I mentioned those. Well, that if I see a magpie, there are not too many around this part of the world, so it doesn't come into play very often. The first magpie of the day, you have to say hello to him. Mm-hmm. You have to tip your hat and say, "Good morning, sir." Yeah. And then you're off to a good start. And the other one is, and either this is an Irish tradition, or some guy just kidded me and he made it up. But the superstition is you can't pass the salt to anybody, the salt. You have to put it down on the table and then they pick it up. You can't
physically hand it to them.
Hand to hand, you can't do that. It's terrible bad luck. Well, there are lots of superstitions around salt, right? Throwing it over your shoulder and that kind of thing. I guess because salt is just so basic to life.
Your poems are, about really ordinary things. So how do you come up with your poetry and stuff like that?
Well, I just shake it out of my sleeve. I don't know. I mean, if you keep your eyes open, the world is constantly offering you things to write about. And there are only, 3 or 4 or 5 themes, love and death and a few others. So if you just find the right metaphors, and they will steer you back to these very common themes. Yeah.
Do you have a certain time limit on any of your poems? This one's going to take me an hour or two to write?
Well, you never know until it goes on. Some of them come very quickly, but that's the result of a lot of false starts, and other ones take longer, but it's like a piece of music. You just keep after it until it's over. Yeah,
definitely. It's it's done when it's done kind of thing. Yeah. So one of my, favorite teachers is Mr. Nelson this year. And what would you say to some English teachers, about poetry? Because I know we're actually going to be studying some of your poetry. Mm-hmm. So.
Well, to respect the surface is one thing. Not to make it a kind of Easter egg hunt right away. To get there are a lot of pleasures that poetry offers that don't involve interpretation or hidden meaning and that kind of thing. That usually makes poetry more difficult than it needs to be.
Yeah, that's true. Cool. Thank you so much for talking to me.
You're very welcome. It's been fun. Yes. Thank you.